Billy set down his cup slowly on the table and stared at his landlady. She smiled back at him, and then she put out one of her hands to pat him comfortingly on the knee. "How old are you, my dear?" she asked. 17. 17? Oh, that's the perfect age. Mr. Mulholland was also 17, but I think he was a trifle shorter than you are. In fact, I'm sure he was. And his teeth weren't quite so white. You have the most beautiful teeth, Mr. Weaver. Did you know that? Mr. Temple, of course, was a little older. He was actually 28, and yet I never would have guessed it if he hadn't told me. Never in my whole life. There wasn't a blemish on his body. "A what?" Billy said. "His skin was just like a baby's."
How did you know that?
Okay, thank you. That's what you're supposed to be asking. No, you are supposed to be asking that. It should sound a little strange that she knows what his skin is like.
Did she cut the skin? She probably killed him. I'm not like trying to be silly, but I'm saying
So, do you know what a blemish is?
scar. Oh
no. What, Lucas?
He doesn't have a scar, like a scratch.
A freckle, a scar, a pimple, a birthmark, anything that would look like your skin was lived in. It's like a baby's. It's all fresh and lovely and perfect.
No. How'd she know that?
Okay. There was a pause, and Billy picked up his teacup and took another sip of tea. He set it down gently in its saucer and waited for her to say something else, but she seemed to have lapsed into another silence. He sat there staring straight ahead of him into the far corner of the room, biting his lower lip. Remember the room?
Yeah.
"That parrot," he said at last. "You know something? It had me completely fooled when I first saw it. I could have sworn it was alive. Alas, no longer." If she says no longer, what does that imply about the parrot?
It's dead.
Yeah, it's no longer alive. What does that imply about how it used to be? Yeah, okay. It used to be alive, but too bad. No longer. It is no longer alive. Okay, so taxidermy. Tell me about taxidermy. You take an animal, and it does take some work. You can't just kill something and then put it in a little cage. You have to prepare it because it can't have anything gooey inside that will melt or leak or expand. You have to take out the inside, stuff it with something. You make the skin into leather so it doesn't keep breaking down and attracting flies. It's a whole thing. Normally what animals do people taxidermy that you think of?
Deer.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
Yes, deer.
My dad has one. It's kind of scary.
Okay. Yeah, this morning we had a girl on quarantine who turned on her camera and she was standing right in front of her dad's taxidermy deer head. It was creepy. Normally, yeah, it's kind of hunters that we think of, deer, fish, quail, that they mount on the wall. What?
Pheasant.
Pigs, really? Yeah, pheasant, yep. Now, taxidermying pets is possible if you can't bear to be separated from them. Yes, Rachel?
I went to a lodge with my family, and like every room had like in it. There's like 8 rooms. It was really fun and stuff. We loved ourselves. But at some point, we were gonna bring their dog, like my cousin's dog. But until we all noticed that there was a bobcat standing on one of the shelves, there was a taxidermy bobcat, and the dog was going psycho. It would not walk past it.
They can look really, really real. Yes. I mean, there's bad taxidermy and there's good taxidermy. What?
At Cabela's, there's tons of deer and elk.
Yeah, even in the bathroom.
Bobcats.
Yep. Cabela's, Gander Mountain. Yep. Bass Pro Shop. Yes. Huh? All their dogs, right? Yeah, and Coraline, the dogs. Yeah, so some people, don't want to be parted with their pet. It is a choice you can make. Yes, Lucas. They do? Okay. Lucas said you can mount wolves on the wall. Wolves. Okay. Okay. So he says, I could have sworn it was alive, and she says, alas, no longer. Well, it's most terribly clever the way it's been done. It doesn't look in the least bit dead. Who did it? I did. You did. Of course. Did what? Yeah, she did not kill them. He's not asking, it looks so great the way they were killed. She said she taxidermied them. He's like, it is really well done. Whoever did it did a great job. She's like, it was me. There can be bad taxidermy. The animal's all lumpy or its eyes are crooked or. Yes, Lucas. Yes. Yes, you cannot mount something unless you taxidermy it. But mounting it is when you actually put it up on the stand. Correct. It's like a mummy. Yes. Yes, Rachel. Yes. And I don't think you can call it mounting if you're just nailing a live dog to a board. That's just animal cruelty.
That would be horrible. That would be really horrible.
Okay. We're almost done. There's not even a whole page left. Who did it? I did. You did. Of course. And have you met my little Basil as well? She nodded towards the dachshund, curled up so comfortably in front of the fire. Billy looked at it, and suddenly he realized that this animal was just as silent and still the whole time as the parrot had been. He put out a hand and touched it gently on the top of its back. The back was hard and cold, and when he pushed the hair to one side with his fingers, he could see the skin underneath, grayish black and dry and perfectly preserved. So she has taxidermied her parrot and dog. She's got a hobby.
That's kind of creepy. Okay, really creepy.
What? Well, I mean,
People has jobs.
It's done. I don't know.
Job.
That could be your job.
Her job. She's a bed and breakfast owner and a taxidermist. She's rolling in the money.
Yeah.
So let's see what Billy's reaction is. If he runs out the door being disgusted, or if he. Good gracious me, he said. How absolutely fascinating. He turned away from the dog and stared with deep admiration at the little woman beside him on the sofa. What's admiration? Oakley? And yes, admire is the root word. If you admire somebody, what do, Lucas? Yeah. Yes, you think they're really cool and awesome. You want to be just like them. Yeah. You admire.
Something very much else. Michael Jordan.
Okay. It must have been awfully difficult to do a thing like that. Not at all. I stuff all my little pets myself when they pass away. Will you have another cup of tea? No, thank you, Billy said. The tea was beginning to taste like bitter almonds, and he didn't much care for that. You did sign the book, didn't you? Yes. Well, that's good, because later on, if I happen to forget what you were called, then I can always come down here and look it up. I still do that almost every day with Mr. Mulholland and Mr. Temple, Billy said. Gregory Temple. Excuse my asking, but haven't there been any other guests here except them in the last 2 or 3 years? Holding her teacup high in one hand, tilting her head slightly to the left, she looked up at him out of the corner of her eyes, gave him another gentle little smile. No, my dear, only you. And that is the end of the story.
How did you end?
He's dead.
You said.
Murdered and stuff.
We are going to write the final summary and prediction, and then we will discuss what happened. So on S4, please summarize the only new piece of information really that we got. That she stuffs all her pets.
Wait,
Yeah.
she's gonna tell him that she's gonna stop him too. Oh. You put my whole stuff in. He's gonna go on the third floor.
And then your prediction needs to be, what condition are the other two men in? That is the specific kind of answer I need. I don't know why you're not telling me that they're happy in Hawaii. We'll talk about it. We'll talk about it. On the wall, that's a very strong wall.
No, because she figured all the organs from her. And blood. And blood.
Skin is the biggest organ in the body, though.
Yes, but not she leaves the heart.
If they all write that, like the prediction is, oh, they're all stuffed.
Yeah, it sounds like that's where they're headed, Lorelai. But gross. I don't know if she's a cannibal. That is not has not been discussed. Okay, are you done?
No, I haven't even. I'm done.
So how about we make a list? I'm going to tell you. How about you raise your hand if you said that Greg and Chris, Gregory Holland and Chris, or Gregory Mulholland and Christopher, Gregory Tebbo, Christopher Mulholland. I can't remember. Raise your hand if you said that they were alive. But would you have written it? Okay. Who thinks they're dead?
Me.
Who thinks that they are buried?
Nope.
Who thinks that they are taxidermied? You are correct. Yes.
I knew it.
That's how she knew that his skin wasn't like.
Yeah. Yep. Okay, hold on. We're going to make a list. Okay. So, first of all, let me apologize if this story is making you uncomfortable. Of course I lied to you the whole way. I couldn't have you know the ending already.
I already knew. I knew they were dead.
I needed you to still pay attention and think about it and try to figure it out. But I apologize if it is making you uncomfortable. I promise this is the only fear story we have that involves anything like this. It was supposed to be kind of Halloween-y. Plus, remember language arts, the art of language. This story did not end with them straight out telling you what happened. You have to use the art of language to piece together the clues to prove it. So let's say you want to go to the police and say, hey, these two guys were murdered. What are they going to want from you? Evidence and proof. A story. Yeah, probably. Tell me about it. Make it good. Let's make a list of the clues now that we're done that kind of are making it obvious now. So guys on the computer, you can chime in as well, but we'll just go around the room and you can tell me things that now are a little more obvious. Lucas? No. You can prove to me now how you know this. But before it was a guess. Now we know. Tell me how you know. What was a piece of evidence?
Those are the only two guesses, and they're still there. Why are they still there for 3 years?
Oh my gosh. The only two guests for 3 years. Yup. Rachel?
Well, the way I knew that she was gonna murder him, is because she said she could only accept middle age. Not middle age, what am I saying? Like
Handsome, young hotties. Now, yeah, if she's gonna make you her life-size Ken doll, she doesn't want you to be ugly or a middle-aged lady. She wants you to be a young hot bang. And going back to number 1, I was trying to distract you and like explain how maybe 2 guests in 3 years wasn't weird. But let's be real. If that's your business to keep guests, coming and going and giving them place to stay, it's weird. You need to have more guests than 2 in 3 years. We're cool. What do you mean? You can say it.
Yeah, exactly. How did you know that?
She should not know what all of his skin looked like. A 28-year-old stranger. No. Well, when you taxidermy something, you gotta deal with everything. Yes, Angelina. I don't know. I don't know. They're her little pets though. So, Rebecca.
At the beginning, she said that this is only for us, and then in like the middle, she said that they're still here. So, they did.
Great, Rebecca. Somebody new, Lainey.
Just like a mummy. Maybe she was. Maybe she was Egyptian. Oh, where'd you go?
She made it really cheap.
Ooh, she did everything she could to make. What about the way she looked at Billy and talked about Billy? What about it is yeah. She was looking at his whole body, commenting on his teeth. Yeah. What about when he was trying to figure out where he knew those 2 names from? What did she do? Mm-hmm.
They went missing 2 songs. Then they never figured out who killed them.
They maybe went missing on the newspapers. Like they put them missing.
Yep. Did he kind of almost get there?
Yes, and then
what did she do? Whenever he was like, hey, wait a minute, that was that one kid, and he did this thing, and he was walking around the country, and then what did she do?
She said, oh no, that couldn't be true.
Yep. Oh, good Hamilton line. Don't change the subject. Almost. Yes, Lucas. Okay, let's talk about how Billy is gonna die and then how this is the perfect crime. You all are saying poison, but again, the cops are going to want proof. What is your actual proof, Rachel?
Okay. me what? Okay, this is my head proof. I'll tell the story to the cops. I'm doing it. I'm a cop.
Oh, you confirm that? Okay.
Okay, what's the one thing he noticed about the tea?
It was
It tasted weird.
Tasted like what?
It tasted like almonds. It's already almonds. Which is the poison.
Back in the olden days, this was actually kind of common. A lot of people got poisoned with cyanide because you could do it in tiny little amounts, and so it would build up over time and just make it look like the person was actually just in really bad health. And so nobody was suspicious when they died. It also doesn't really have a flavor or a smell, and the person isn't going to take a sip and like immediately foam at the mouth. So it did taste like bitter almonds, and that is the proof, that's the clue from the text that he was poisoned with cyanide. Now, let's talk about how this is going to how she's going to get away with it. So fast forward to tomorrow morning. Tomorrow morning, where's Billy supposed to go?
To business. To work.
To business.
Business thing.
To work, yeah. Okay, so he's going to go to work. Who is he going to meet there?
Head office.
That he came from the head office in London and was supposed to report to tomorrow. He will report to the branch manager. Has the branch manager ever seen him?
No.
When Billy doesn't show up, the branch manager might call London and say, where is he? But they don't know what he looks like. They don't know when he's supposed to get there. So let's say they call the London office. What does the London office know about him?
Everything.
Well, yeah, but if they're trying to find Billy, what information do they have that could be helpful?
Like his
Lucas?
face and his age.
Well,
His
yeah,
age.
but guys,
his
if they're
look.
trying to track him, okay, remind me to never get lost and need you guys to find me. If he's not where he's supposed to be,
They'll try and
They
find
need
him
to
in the town.
they need to find him and retrace his steps. What does the London office know?
He's in Bath. Right?
If
He
London
went to
knows,
the Bell and
yes.
Dragon.
No, the London office knows he went to Bath,
Oh,
but doesn't know where he went after that. They know, no, they don't. They know that they put him on a train. They know he took the train. They can trace that on ticket stubs and stuff. But the boss said, go find your own place to stay and report to your branch manager. So they don't know where he went. They just know he took a train. So retrace his steps. They know he got on the train. Then what, Rebecca?
Didn't he ask somebody for like a mini hotel or something like that?
The porter at the station. So let's say the police are tracing his steps. They talk to the branch manager in London. He says, I sent him to Bath. I don't know where he went after that. So they go to Bath. At the train station, they question the porter who says, well, I saw that kid and I sent him to.
The Bell and Dragon.
Yep. So where are the police going to go after that? The Bell and
The Bell
Dragon.
and
What's
Dragon.
the Bell and Dragon going to say?
that he wasn't there.
Yep. Never saw him.
Never saw him.
So now they have to narrow down their search. There's a quarter mile between the station and the pub. So if they search it, what? Quarter mile. What?
The hat and the stuff like that, the coat, didn't he take it off in the entrance?
Yeah, and she could just burn them or hide them.
Or put the house or whatever.
When they're walking down the street, what was the street like?
It was like dark and
Identical houses.
Old houses.
Well, yeah, but if you're solving a mystery, that doesn't matter, does it?
Oh, never mind.
But the houses are all going to look the same. So even if someone's like, well, I think I saw him go into a house. Yeah, which one? I don't know. They all look the same. It was night. So there really are no witnesses. There's no cameras. It was 1920. No phones, not really. What about her sign? Tell me about the sign. And what was it written on?
It was written on a dark piece, not dark, like a white piece of paper put on the.
It was written on a card in the window.
Yeah.
So it was not a sign nailed to the, painted on the building or nailed to the front. People probably don't even know that's a bed and breakfast. She can just move the sign. So if the police are going down the street, they have no reason to stop in her house. They have no dead and breakfast. Wow, that was awesome.
No,
So is she going to get away with it?
Yes.
Yes. No one's going to be able to find him. They'll just know that he's missing. They'll have no reason to go check all the
And then
houses.
it happens again.
And then it'll happen again. Yeah. So to sum up, she killed and stuffed Billy and the other two. All right.
Sad. That's really sad.
So did Billy face his fear?
yeah.
Yes.
How'd it go?
Horrible.
Terrible.
Yeah, not so
It
good.
cost him his
Okay.
life.
Time,
Dun, dun, dun.
time for your Cheerio now. Yep.
Oh.
So go to your pod.